Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Trying to get it together here to make sure I have my audio. But happy Monday. I am Shelly B, a conservative Black sister surviving in a hot mess world, and a hot mess it is indeed every day. Well, today I'm going to speak of two people that at different stages of my life, I consider both of these people to be a hot mess. And that is Stephen A. Smith and Candace Owens. Okay. Now, before we get into that, please, please, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel on YouTube, please. You know, I have TikTok and I also have Instagram. More people have more followers on Instagram than either TikTok or YouTube. So if you could please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I don't really care that much about the TikTok or whatever, but the YouTube channel, I would like to see it grow and be able to reach more people on there. Okay, so now let's just get right into it. Um, Listen, now, Stephen A. Smith, okay. Now, I never used to really care for him too much, and I'm not a sports person, so I didn't really know him from sports. I only started knowing about Stephen A. Smith during COVID and just how evil him and Charles Barkley, I have to add him in there, but how evil they were to Kyrie Irving over the shots. You understand? So I just, was turned by him because just the way that they went so hard on a brother just for standing up for what he believed in. And, he ended up being right. You know what I'm saying? All the people that didn't take them shots have no regrets. And a lot of athletes, had suffered some terrible consequences to their careers from them shots. So he had very good discernment, Mr. Kyrie Irving. Now Candace, on the other hand, as conservative as my values are, I feel like that is all that we really had in common as far as I felt with Candace. And in the beginning, before I really, really, really got tired of liberalism and all their foolishness, which has been many, many years, but I feel like over this last administration, it really just put the nail in the coffin. I will never, ever vote, as long as I'm Black, as far as I'm concerned, for another Democratic administration ever, 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 ever. I don't care who it is. Just like they say, vote blue no matter who. I will vote Republican until I die. I will never vote for these people ever again just because of their COVID policies alone, not to mention the slew of other things I don't like about them. Now, now on the other hand, I felt a little bit better about Candace than I did Stephen, even though I have to say Stephen did redeem himself. He did apologize, and him and Kyrie settled their differences. And I love that those Black men got it together and they're good now. And he admitted that he was wrong. They really slandered him on the documentary that he posted that said Black people were the original Jews or whatever. And I honestly, and he held on to the position that how am I going to be an anti-Semite if I believe that my ancestors were also Jews? You understand? That wasn't good enough, because I guess they don't feel that Black people were the original Jews or whatever. That's a discussion for a different day. But that's where he stood. And I respect him because he doesn't let anybody punk him out of his belief, as he shouldn't. Just like they don't want nobody to tell them that their way is not the right way. Everybody should just be left to think what they want to think and just leave it alone. So anyway, Candace Owens, I said, I'm a person that I don't just like the blind faith follow anything. Like I really, if I hear negative things about somebody, I really want to hi, how are you? Thanks for sitting with me. No problem. Um I have to go and look at um a person's perspective. I don't just let somebody tell me who my enemy is, and I always hate that. You know, I don't care. I don't care. It's friends, family, or whatever. I'm not gonna let nobody tell me who I can be friends with, who to like, and who not to like, and this person's bad. I want to find out for myself. So upon researching Candace Owens, I found that the sister really is on point in a lot of things. Do I agree with her on everything? No, of course not. Who agrees with anybody on anything? Even your best friend, your husband, your kids, you're not going to agree with them on everything. But I really do have to give her credit because her receipts are good. And that's one thing I have to tell y'all about conservative media, independent journalists, and stuff like that. is that they gonna have receipts. I don't feel that mainstream media and Democrat media have receipts like how conservative and independent have receipts. They have receipts because they know that they're going to get attacked by the mainstream, and they have undeniable receipts, you know. So I just thought Candace Owens exposed Black Lives Matter from the beginning about how they were spending the money, and it came out to be true about Black Lives Matter and how they wasted that money. You understand? It is what it is, and we have to be able to call our people out when they're doing shit that ain't right. You know, she also investigated Kamala Harris's life and found out that her book was lying, and the lady that they had as her auntie or something like that wasn't even who she said that she was. And you know, I'm telling you, y'all just have to really learn how to watch more independent media so that you guys I'm sorry, somebody's writing to me. Yes, exactly. Denise D is saying that, you know, who is anybody to tell somebody what to think? You understand? Especially when it comes to ancestry, religion, and stuff. Just like certain people feel like their history is passed down, he felt his history was passed down, and that's what his people told him, and that's what he believes. And who are they to force him into changing his mind on something like that? You understand what I'm saying? Because honestly, nobody can really prove one or the other. You know what I'm saying? Whatever he thinks is what it is, and why does anybody care? It's like certain people you can't challenge, and I don't think that's fair. So moving on, the bottom line is that Stephen A. Smith, which I thought was a really like really like opposite type of person to interview her, even though he has become a lot more conservative, and he's, you know, he, you know, put the fist down on Democrats for how much they dropped the ball and stuff like that. And he says that, you know, he's very liberal and he wouldn't have voted for Donald Trump regardless, and this and that, but he does appreciate some of the policies, and he feels the Democrats were wrong, and a lot of the policies they did were wrong, and they just didn't do a good job, blah, 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 blah. So he's changed a lot. That's why he's even having somebody on like her. But, you know, it seems like he apologizing a lot and, you know, tiptoeing through the tulips when it comes to Candace. But I do commend him for having her on, because I just feel like when it comes to things like this, we have to really, really, sorry, stuff is popping up. I'm getting confused. Okay, so we have to really, really start to like go down a rabbit hole on these people, because a lot of the people that people tell us not to like really are not the enemy. You know, I don't feel like, I mean, she grew up broke, you know what I'm saying? And she was a liberal supporter at one time, and she changed her mind. So I want to know what caused that to happen, because I know I sure changed my mind, and half of America changed their mind too. So nobody ever asked those questions, and I really think that we as a community to do better at having a discussion. Now these two don't necessarily agree, but they had a discussion. So I'm going to share my screen, because I really thought this was fascinating, these two in the interview that they had. Because I actually like her for the most part, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like another problem that Black folks have all the time too is that, you know, we tend to, you know, it seems like it always comes up that, oh, you know, she's married to a white person, like that matters really. In her, even though, I mean, she could be married to anybody she want to be married to, but she's still Black. They ain't taking away that she's Black. And I think she has very conservative views about abortion and things like that. And I know a lot of Black people just have conservative values just like her, but because she says that because she admits that she's a conservative, a lot of people don't like her. And I feel like a lot of it has to do with the fact that she's married to a white person, because it just always comes up, you know. And let's see what they have to say.
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to speak with the one and only Candace Owens. For those of you who don't know, she's a far-right pundit who's not afraid to speak her mind on a variety of topics, even if her stance is controversial. She's an African-American with conservative views. They usually don't sit well with a whole lot of people. And I want to talk about that before we play this interview. See, on this show, one of the things that have been transpiring over the last weeks and months is that we've seen a lot of liberals come on to this show. We've seen Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, on this show. We've seen Minority Leader in the House, the one and only Hakeem Jeffries, the successor to Nancy Pelosi. You just saw me interview former New York governor, candidate for the mayor's seat of New York, Mr. Andrew Cuomo. You've seen Chris Cuomo on this show on many occasions.
Horrible.
Bill O'Reilly's been on this show. Byron Donald, representative out of the state of Florida, he's been on this show. But when you see these folks, and let me not forget Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, he's also been on this show. A lot of times people forget some of those guys. They remember others. Josh Shapiro has been on the show, governor of Pennsylvania. And from what I'm being told, there's a whole bunch of people on Capitol Hill that want to end up on this show. And I'm honored to have them all. I say all of that to say, on this show, this platform, I pride myself on being fair-minded. I'm not an aficionado when it comes to politics. I'm just a conscientious.
Choice is saying all historians said don't listen to Ivan Van Sertima because he can't tell the truth, expecting to get a white, kitty cat when he go home. I don't know how true that is because I used to be one of those black people that felt like that until I studied about the abolitionist period, and most of the abolitionists were white people, and they. If it wasn't for those white people, we would have never survived the Underground Railroad, and slavery would never got free because the Republican Party was created to abolish slavery, and a bunch of white people did that. A bunch of white people fought the Civil War to end slavery. So, I try not to get caught up in that because I feel like, you be with whoever you want to be with it. Frederick Douglass' second wife was a white woman. They always showed a white woman, but they never talk about the black woman that he had all his life till she passed away. Then he married a white abolitionist woman or whatever. So I don't think that matters because I feel like she's still a black woman and she's always going to be black. She's brown and very brown. And, I'm sure she has an opinion as a black woman. I don't think she's going to be treated any different in society because she has a white husband, because when they see you, they see black. You understand? And I feel like she get it worse because she gonna get it from the white people and the black people, honestly. But that's neither here nor there. Somebody asked her about her white husband too, and she said that she wasn't really thinking about the race or whatever. She just fell in love with somebody that matched her frequency, and that's what I feel it's all about. It's a frequency that you meet somebody on, and it's connects. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I ain't tripping on her about that or whatever. Just listen.
Observer. I read the news. I watch stuff on television. I see what I see. I wonder about what's going on based on the facts that are disseminated to us. I'm able to deduce balls and strikes and how to call it, and I go from there. With some people, that's not good enough. My response is you're going to have to get over it. I'm not here to be friends. Not here to make enemies either. But I am.
Well, he do make enemies because when I research for this, if you Google Stephen A. Smith apologizes to, you're going to see a list of names come up in a whole bunch of videos of him because he be saying a lot. He says a lot. And then afterwards, I guess he feels, I don't know, he'll put together some apology. The apology that he gave Kyrie Irving didn't really seem like an apology to me, but he accepted it and that's whatever. And they say changed behavior is the best form of an apology. And I feel like he really has changed his behavior because he's not acting so hard leftist and everything. Like, I feel like he really has questions and doubts about that party now. And he says it. So I commend him for that.
I'm here to be fair. And part of fairness is letting people speak and giving them an opportunity to express their views, even when I don't agree with them. In the case of Candace Owens, we're going to do that.
So he just had to throw in there that he's letting her express her opinions, even though he doesn't agree. That's because he is on a leftist media channel. So he has to make sure that he still leans to the left. He can't make a hard right. You know what I'm saying? He has to still, stay in his lane on the left. You know what I mean? So he's going to keep on making these disclaimers.
I got her for 25 minutes. She's already promised that she's coming back on. And we're going to have a more lengthier discussion about all the things that entails Candace Owens, what makes her who she is. But why would I be interested in talking to her? It's not just because she's opposite, say, somebody like a Roland Martin or an Areva Martin.
Now, Roland Martin is somebody that I cannot even listen to for more than 10 seconds. I can't. Like, those hard left people, I just can't. I don't know. They're just, I can't even tell you how delusional they sound to me a lot of the times. I just can't. I try to listen because I want to hear both sides of the story, but I know their story is so redundant and I just can't even listen to it no more at all.
Who have been analysts, left-wing analysts, I might add, that have blessed me with their presence on this show. But it's also to pique my curiosity and to edify me to some degree. You see, when I think about blacks who are conservatives, I see a guy like Officer Tatum out there. I want to meet that man. I want to talk to that.
Now, see, sometimes I don't like Officer Tatum either. Hit or miss, and he get the same argument because he has a white woman too. You understand? So, which that is not the reason why I dislike him. I just feel like I don't know. It's just like anything. You can watch somebody and you agree with them sometimes. You know what I mean? I feel like he's more off-putting to me more than Candace ever has been. That's just my opinion.
Man. In terms of black conservatives, like an Officer Tatum, like a Candace Owens, and various others, they pique my interest.
That's how I feel. Like, I can't think of any leftist that piqued my interest, except maybe him, because he's just, to me, is really honestly calling them out for the bullshit that they doing. So that's why, I never watched him before, but I've watched him since he changed his mind and been on them. You know what I'm saying? They're even saying that he should run for president. And I honestly think he would have a better chance than any of these people, Jasmine Crockett and whoever, AOC and all these people, Kamala. I feel like if he had to run against those people, they would pick Stephen A. Smith. I'm telling you.
Do you know why? Because they deviate from the norm. You see, when people make an argument against the black community and they say that we're monolithic in our thinking, I don't like that. When they say that 85 to 90% of the people in the black community are going to vote democratically, that has always unnerved me.
Me too.
For a few reasons. Number one, I remember when Lyndon B. Johnson was quoted as saying before 1964 civil rights legislation was placed in the law, put this through, push this legislation through, and we'll have the Negroes vote for us for the next 200 years.
And yes, he did say that. And that is exactly what happened. And I'm trying to get you to understand that the Democratic Party did Jim Crow, Black codes, Ku Klux Klan is a Democratic organization. As much as they try to pin it on Republicans, that is a Democrat organization. It was from the start, and they're still up in there. I'm telling you, you guys just don't understand the history of these people. They passed that Civil Rights Act, and then the very same people did COINTELPRO, killed Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and killed all kinds of leaders abroad and they're still doing slimy shit to us. The prison industrial complex, more people have been enslaved with that than were through the transatlantic slave trade. So it's bullshit. We have to wake up to this crap. You understand? And to me, if you know that, why do you ride with these people? What would be the reason? They don't do anything for us, and we're always at the side and vote. But they started realizing that we're not going to vote, and that's why they opened up the border and had all these immigrants come in, treat them like gold, so they'll vote for them. You understand? But I don't think they ever thought that Donald Trump would get reelected. They thought that they would have a new voter block, but Donald Trump said their voter block back home. So, you guys just have to see through the bullshit. That's it.
And I think about how divided society can be, how divided communities can be. You can be Hispanic, you can be Dominican, you can be Cuban, you can be Guatemalan, you can be Venezuelan, you can be Puerto Rican, you can be Mexican. It doesn't matter. You can't go to all of them and say, oh, excuse me, we got their vote. You can't take them for granted. You can't go to whites who are Catholics.
And they took the whole America for granted, because that map now is pretty much almost red, except for a few little outskirts of America, little dots are left that's blue because they did too much and they just took for granted that, the American people were stupid and that they could just do whatever they want and run amok and people wouldn't get sick of their shit. And they found out the hard way. I don't think a Democrat will ever get in office again for decades. They have to totally, like, I don't know what they could do because I just feel like they've turned off so many people and they're still doing the same crazy shit and cringy ass shit. And it's just like more and more people every day don't want to be bothered with them.
White to a Jewish and say, oh, we got their vote. You can't go to the Asian community and say, oh, we got their vote. We got that on lock. But somehow, some way, you can say that about us. So on one hand, we have a party, which is the Democratic Party, which at least some people in the Black community believe has taken us for granted because they know they got our vote. And then you got folks on the side of the conservatives who say there's no way how we gonna get the Black vote. So why worry about them? And as a result, we end up being a disenfranchised community. That's the argument we were making before
success.
This past election. Back 9 years ago, Trump looked at America, Black America in particular, and said, what do you have to lose? Fast forward to 2024. He didn't have to say that.
And you know what he did say? He did say, what's important to y'all? Well, the prison industrial complex, the police system, they be locking us up. Our people are up in there, rotting away up in there and everything. And what you going to do for us? He said, well, what I'm going to do if I get elected, I'm going to sign a prison czar to go in there and look at the cases and get your people out of there. I have never heard nobody say nothing like that. Obama never said nothing like that. Biden, Clinton's, nobody, all these Black people, all these politicians that Black people love, and they're like the Holy Trinity. Obama, Beyonce, and Jesus. That's the Holy Trinity in America. I'm telling you. And they really are going to go in there and check to see about our people and pardon out all of the people that don't belong there. Just like he pardoned the January 6th, he's going to pardon our people too. I don't care what nobody says. Nobody's offering us that. And if that's what they're going to do, we need to ride with them because Democrats do nothing for us. Nothing.
Because we saw a Democratic Party leaning significantly to the progressive left with the rhetoric they were spewing. And it cost them an election. How do we know that? Trump won all the swing states.
Sure did.
His popularity increased.
Sure did. And you know what was fierce? People, and Obama's not Black. He isn't really. He's not, to be honest. And they say he's not even an American. So how about that? So what was interesting about this is I've had so many people come to me on the side because I've always been very vocal about hating Democrats, especially since COVID. And people will come to be like, oh, Shelly, I like what you're saying, but I'm scared to say that I won't have a job and this and that. And listen, there's people that was hating on me because I was so vocal about certain things. But at the end of the day, I don't care. That's my opinion. They can have their opinion, though. They can call Donald Trump all the names and have a severed head of him and all this and that. If somebody had a severed head of Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, they probably would get locked up for it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they did a lot of weird shit. You understand? And people were afraid to be in public and say it. So that's why they thought they had it like that. But when they got in that voting booth in private, they spoke what they wanted. You understand? So they underestimated the whole of America because America is mostly red now and they are in denial. They are not moving right. And I don't think they'll ever recover, ever.
89% of the counties in the United States of America.
Listen.
His popularity increased within the Black community.
74% of Americans said that they like what he's doing so far, whether they voted for him or not. And the Democrat Party have a 21% approval rating. There you have it. It's a wrap.
Within the Hispanic community and with young voters. And for the first time in 20 years, a Republican won the popular vote, not just the Electoral College vote. Sometimes that should give you cause to pause and to stand up and pay attention. And the one.
Well, they didn't give them cause to pause because they're still doing the same shit and even worse. The way they carried on and how disrespectful they were to the parents, or those girls that were murdered by migrants, illegal aliens that their policies let in here to brutally murder these girls. They disgusted me, and a lot of people were very disgusted about their behavior. And that's how they are. There's some hateful ass people, and they're gonna get up and cheer for Ukraine. Okay, when are these people going to care about the people in this country? Because they don't ever. So this is why I am glad to see them go. I feel vindicated, for all the smoke I had to take all this time. I try to tell everybody, these people are the devil. What they did with COVID and them shocks and mandates and all of the stuff they did, these people are evil. Do you understand? And then they show how evil they are, how they treated those families and that little boy. That is disgusting for them to treat any American that went through some shit like that, especially since it was their policies that caused it. I just thought that was the most despicable thing they've done yet.
What's the other side thinking? Rather than challenge them on every single thing they think, feel, and spew.
That's the thing. This is what used to make me mad too. Trump's bad, 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 hate, bad, 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 hate. Instead of just saying, don't even mention him. You talk about what you're going to do, and they never have done it, and they still aren't doing it. They're still doing the same thing. That's how insane these people are, because they're just doing the same thing again, and they're just losing more people and more people because they're freaking crazy. These people are ridiculous. They don't get it.
Step back, simply ask the question and listen to what they have to say, knowing there's another day to get into a whole bunch of other stuff. That's what I decided
People
to
are
do
stupid
with Candace Owens. Say what you will about her. She's smart as a whip.
She is, though.
Highly intelligent, very articulate, and doesn't play.
One thing I like about her, and I have to say that you cannot punk her. She says what she says, and she means what she said. She said it. She ain't taking it back. And I love her. I love her for that. That's one thing I can say about her that I do like. She lost her job because she said something anti-Semitic they didn't like, and she stood on it and kept standing on it, and even quoted them Bible scriptures and stood on it some more. She is no joke. Y'all have to really look at some of her stuff, because I was like, whoa, she's a gangster. She's one of the biggest, as far as Black women political commentators. She's the best to me, as far as not giving a fuck at all about what anybody thinks.
There will be times in the future where hopefully she and I can get together and butt heads over one issue or another. But this interview wasn't.
Honestly, I don't think he would ever win in a debate with Candace on anything. That's how, if I had to bet between the two of them, I would bet on Candace every time, because she's going to come with receipts and she goes hard. I didn't know she was like that until I started really watching her. I was like, okay, sis, okay, I was digging it. I love it.
Time for that. It was my first time ever meeting her and speaking to her, to my knowledge. And I simply wanted to ask some questions out of curiosity to get her response, and to let that response be heard to the masses. No judgment, no pushback. There would be another time for that. Not this interview. Not with only 25 minutes with her.
I honestly don't feel if he had 25 minutes or 25 hours, I don't see him winning no debate with her. She's a good debater, and she gonna come prepared with all her facts and receipts, and she really knows about a lot of stuff, and her information is accurate. I haven't seen anybody really been able to come for her yet.
I just wanted to hear how she would answer certain questions before I revisit those issues and many more with her later. She promised to come back, and I'm thankful for that.
He's so dramatic.
For now, let's just listen and hear what she has to say. Your boy, Stephen A. Smith, with the one and only Candace Owens. Take a look. I want to start off by saying I am not responsible for any comments that are about to be made. I'm just interviewing, I'm just listening.
You see how he keeps giving these disclaimers because he's on a leftist network. So he's giving all these disclaimers, you know, before, so he can, I don't know, he just want to keep his position and don't want no smoke by the left.
The hearing from the other side, per se. Buckle up with your seatbelt for this one, because my next guest is considered a controversial figure, known for her provocative statements and conservative views. She's built a successful media brand, which includes a popular podcast and a new book called Make 'Em a Sandwich: Why Real Women Don't Need Fake Feminism. Despite facing criticism and controversy, she remains unapologetic and continues to push boundaries with her content and her opinions. Please welcome to the Stephen A. Smith Show, the one and only Candace Owens. Candace, how are you? Pleasure to meet you. How's everything?
It is great, and I'm actually so excited. I kept this from your producer because it's too good for me not to have told you as we're running live, because this is a full circle moment, but I've actually met you before.
Okay.
And my ex-boyfriend many years ago was a huge Stephen A. Smith fan.
Okay.
So we watched you and Skip every single morning. And then we went to a Knicks game and he was like,
I'm making y'all watch this whole entire video. It's only about 20 minutes long because I want you to really see what kind of person that she is. Because when I researched her and really started watching her and looking into some of her investigative reporting and stuff like that, I loved her after that. I really did. Do I agree with everything she says? I don't agree with nobody with everything they say, but I definitely respect her a lot.
Like, do you think you can get him to give you a handshake? And you were coming into like after the game had ended. You were obviously in the front. We were not that close. And I was like, Stephen A. Smith, please shake my hand. And then he caught it on camera, and then you gave me a high five, and it basically made our whole life, just so you know.
Well, listen, I'm glad we have a fond memory together, but it's a pleasure meeting you. And just for the record, you are not in enemy territory. So I've got a lot of questions to ask you. But before I even get into all of that, I hear congratulations is in order, mother of 3, expecting a 4th child. Is that true?
That is correct. 8 more weeks to go here. So it's just a factory over here. And thank you very much. It's a blessing.
Back-to-back
Absolutely.
babies.
Congratulations to you and your hubby and your family and everything like that. Wishing you nothing but the best. Let's get right to it, Candace. First things first. You know, when you saw the election results take fold and you saw Donald Trump win the election, popular vote, electoral college vote, et cetera, what were the thoughts that ran through your mind when you saw the results transpiring?
You know, I think that the first thing I thought was that old school expression, it's the economy, stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've done a lot and everyone's screaming at each other all the time. There's been all these social movements and he versus her and black versus white. But at the end of the day, people just weren't living well under the Biden regime. I call it a regime, but it gets down to, how was I living? What were the gas prices? How expensive are groceries? Are you willing to try something different? And I think genuinely, there's a fatigue that is setting in, that has set in, that was beginning to sort of percolate, of people that are just exhausted with being angry. Do you know what I mean? Like the media constantly selling, this guy's this guy's that, she's this, she's that. I think we're all just tired, and that's kind of a good thing.
I agree, because that's all you heard for 4 years. Trump. If they would have stopped mentioning his name and just telling American people what they're going to do and actually doing it, one thing you can say about Trump, he ran on everything he's doing. And the people that voted for him are freaking happy because he kept his promises. And, you know, he's only been in there for 40 days and y'all acting like y'all allowed the Biden administration for 4 years to be weekend at Bernie's, and God only knows what was wrong with Kamala, because she seemed like she was on something half of the time, not making no damn sense. And y'all didn't complain for 4 years, but you're going to complain in 40 days that everything has to change. I feel like he achieved a good amount in 40 days or 45 days or however long he's been in there. And I just feel that it's only going to get better. In 45 days, you got how many people, other nations coming here to build factories and stuff like that. And you already got people to buy our lumber or whatever. Like, they're moving. You understand? And nothing's perfect. You know what I mean? But I feel like that they will get where they need to be. I feel like they're going to make it, because if they're keeping this many problems in this little bit of time, and Democrats have 4 years and didn't keep any promises and even really stabbed us in the back multiple times with the illegal situation and our tax dollars, I don't see what everybody's tripping about. I really don't.
Do you believe that Donald Trump won the election, or that the progressive left and their thought process, their policy, some of the things that they were spewing, it was more a product of them losing? That's what I've been saying. It wasn't about him winning. It was about America saying, nah, he's closer to normal than what the hell we're hearing over here. We don't like this. And that's what transpired. What do you think it was?
You are completely on the money with that. It was really more that the left lost. And it was a weird, it was very strange to watch Kamala run. I will say that, because she really only ran for 100 days, right? Trump had been running throughout four years, basically, kind of upset about the loss in 2020. And she kind of just comes in, and it's almost like a coronation, which I think was disrespectful to the left-leaning voter base. Like, it was just, well, he has kind of said he's knighted me, and therefore I am the person that you should be electing. And she didn't really work for it, and rather was, I think, quite accusatory. If you don't elect her, it's because you have an issue with women. I don't think Obama's speech to the brothers, the quote unquote brothers, helped him any. He's been gone. Yeah. He's in Martha's Vineyard, living in a house, God knows how much it costs, not something I could afford. And then he kind of reappears to sort of lecture the brothers about their responsibility. And I just don't think it sat well this time around. Just a different time, a different audience, and people kind of realizing, hey, that's not really enough.
That's true. You know what I'm saying? And they just try every trick in the book instead of running on policy. That's what Donald Trump did. He just said what he would do. And for whatever reason, the people believed him. And he's been following through on the things that he said he can do in 45 days. I feel like they achieved a lot in 45 days. It's unbelievable, all the stuff they've done. And a lot of people don't agree with some of the decisions he's making. I feel great with everything. I wish that he would come out of NATO, all of that. I hope that they do come out of NATO and leave Europe on their damn own. A lot of things I agree with. I don't have a problem so far at all.
Paint me a vision. Tell me what you're actually going to do for me. Don't tell me that it's just simply my responsibility to give this woman votes because she's a woman.
I want to transition.
And you know what else they did? They said Black men were stupid. Uneducated people that didn't go to college were stupid for not voting for her. They had a whole list of everybody they hated, but what they didn't realize that made up all of the American people. They just, for the people that's supposed to be so inclusive and love everybody, I feel like they're the most hate-filled haters I've ever seen in my life in a party. It is the worst Democratic group I've ever seen in my life.
Back to Trump in this regard, we just saw it, that world just saw. It wasn't a press conference or anything like that. I don't call it that. Him with Ukrainian President Zelensky and how he went at him and what have you. Now, Zelensky, if I remember correctly, you didn't speak too highly of him. Now
watch how she gonna break it down about Europe and Zelensky and NATO and all that shit. I'm telling you, it's bullshit. We don't need to be a part of NATO, and we don't need to give Ukraine shit. Watch.
Make sure I'm quoting you accurately. You called him a homosexual actor. Is that true? Did you call him that?
I also just called him the neighborhood crackhead, kind of just goes around asking for money. I called him a welfare queen.
See how she is? She don't give a shit.
So this is the thing. The media kind of had me depicted throughout BLM as this person that uses these words to describe Black people. I'm like, no. Let's be very clear. When I'm calling somebody like Zelensky a welfare queen, there's a reason for that. You come here with your hand out, asking, making demands. It's funny because I was having a discussion with my husband about this, and it's people that tend to need the most that make these sorts of demands, and they're so arrogant. He's taken billions away, unaccounted billions, by the way.
And they said his wife, they living their best life over there in Ukraine. It's a scam. It's money laundering, and it's a scam. And we need to stop. We need to stop giving any foreign aid. I agree with Trump. No more foreign aid till we get our shit together. Period.
So you and I have to get to work because Zelensky wants his borders protected, and we can't have our borders protected because that would be a racist thing to ask for. But he's allowed to demand that you and I get to work because he spent all the billions. His wife is shopping in Paris. The oligarchs in Ukraine.
And don't forget that they lost. He claims he lost they lost the money. Don't know what happened to it. They know what happened to it.
Are all buying yachts. And yeah, I have absolutely no respect for him, but I want to say, I have not respected that man since day one. This is not something that's new. I just saw him coming.
It's not something that's new, but what about Trump and Vance and how they conducted themselves? You and I might disagree on this particular issue, because I don't disagree with what you're saying in terms of, I was on the record saying, listen, you're coming with your hand out, you need money. You might not want to be confrontational. You might want to be a bit more diplomatic, Zelensky, because you're the one that's in need. And Trump wasn't wrong when he said, oh, you don't have any of the cards. You don't have any of the cards. The flip side to it, however, is that the press conference, you're in the Oval Office. We know this is the White House. This isn't someplace in Ukraine. And he's got broken English, and you got the vice president interrupting them. You got them, I thought, somewhat bullying him to some degree.
Zelensky gonna get up there talking about, you all have to fight because it's NATO. You're gonna send your kids to fight, and they will be dying. They will be dying. You know, who the hell you gonna tell us we have to give you our money, then send our kids over to die with yours, boy? Bye.
Agree. I just didn't think it was necessary. It was a good look. That's where I'm coming from. Am I wrong in feeling that way?
No, I think you're perfectly, I mean, these are your feelings. They're valid, right? If that's how you felt. For me, I felt it was refreshing. I'm so tired of politics. Too. I know they always button it up for us. They're constantly telling us, oh, this, and saying things that sound good, but don't actually result in good things. And I think it was sort of the frustration of how much he has taken from America to not come with some respect. And I likened it to, even when you go to your granddad's house and it's your birthday, your mom kind of makes you wear something special. You know, he's going to give you a card and slip some cash in there, $100. Granddad's always good for that. And you just come with some decorum and some respect. This dude has been wearing military fatigues for like 5 years now. Okay.
He need to take them military fatigues and go out there and fight for his country instead of dragging men out of nightclubs, off the street, out their houses and stuff to fight that war. That war needs to end. It's never going to get won. You know, NATO putting troops over there is why Putin's going to keep attacking them, because they keep getting close and they're not following the agreement that they agreed to, and they keep putting troops close on his border, and he's going to keep them out. So I don't understand why people don't understand this and can't really see what's going on. Anytime Europeans tell me who my enemy is, I don't believe them.
Put on a suit. As soon as he gets out of the car, Trump's like, well, he's dressed up. This should let you know, this should signal to the public that what he's doing is an act. Why? Give me a scenario, a reason why he can't put on a suit. Even if you're in the midst of a war, why can't you put on a suit when you're coming to ask for money? Well, because he wants people to see him.
And I don't really care about him, whatever he wears, because what's the Fetterman? He wears sweats to Congress, so who cares? You understand? I don't care what he wears, but he's full of shit. You walking around in military shit, go on the front lines and fight with your people then. Because you talking about there's a shortage of people to fight. Take your ass out there. Take your family and your wife and everybody you know with you over there too while you're at it.
As a guy that's downtrodden in the trenches, and he's not that. This guy's been on the cover of Vanity Fair. He's been on the cover of Vogue. He's been on the cover of Forbes. He's doing photo shoots. He did a 3-hour podcast with Lex Friedman. He asked and was declined a spot to go to the Oscars a couple of years ago. And so this is making a mockery. It's just making him put on a suit.
See,
you know?
this is why people got to be careful about messing with you, because I was getting ready to disagree with you until you threw out those last things. I didn't know he tried to go to the Oscars. I didn't know he tried to be on the cover of Vogue. I didn't know that stuff, Candace. I honestly didn't know. Okay, that does change it a little bit.
And he is a literal actor, by the way. You know that, right?
That I know. What I will say this, any sympathy for the fact that Russia did attack his nation.
Now,
I mean, there is some sympathy for that, right? We see the rubble. We see the catastrophe that is Ukraine. We see Putin bombing them, for crying out loud. We've seen that happen, right?
Yeah. So the thing for me is, and the reason why I say that I've had this opinion since the very beginning, is I don't rely on politicians. I think all politicians lie. And so I was reading the transcripts leading up to this moment of Putin's speeches and Biden's speeches and trying to discern what the truth was. And Putin was saying, you guys gave us assurances that NATO was not going to expand 1 inch eastward into our territory. Essentially, NATO is a military. We were putting a military on his border, despite in 1989, when the Berlin Wall came down, as a condition, an agreement for them to agree to take down the Berlin Wall. We promised, and you can go look at this in NSA declassified documents. James Baker was the Secretary of State at that time.
Yes, he was.
We promised them that we would never move NATO eastward. So you have to imagine the memory that they have, and they're going, why are you now doing that? Now all of a sudden we're saying that Ukraine is going to join NATO, and he's saying this is unacceptable. America can't keep changing its mind. And so when I was able to validate what he said and to read the speeches, you cannot walk away from that without an understanding that we are the aggressors. Everything that we say Russia is doing, recreating the Soviet Union, we are doing that. What is the European Union? What is NATO? And we've been getting away for it for too long under this guise of quote unquote spreading democracy. So I fundamentally,
and Putin wanted to join NATO and they wouldn't let him do it because they want to control the resources there like they do everywhere else. They have tried to colonize and pillage everywhere on earth. You know, like I said, that's like the last place that's kept the Europeans out of there. You know, I don't see how people can't see this. And you know the history of Europeans and what they've done throughout the world as far as like the genocides and stealing nations and stuff like that and pillaging resources and stuff like that. And he's not going for it. He's not going for it.
Disagreed with what I saw as Western propaganda trying to paint Putin as a monster for holding us to our promises and not telling the public that. He just randomly woke up one day and just said, I want to do hood rat stuff with my friends. And
exactly. They try to make that. I always say anybody that the Europeans tell you is the enemy is probably the hero of the story. That is what I have learned just looking at their history of going from nation to nation, pillaging and trying to collapse these nations. And when they can't collapse them, then they can't break through, then they go to war with them to try to collapse them that way and force themselves. That's the same old shit they've been doing for eons. It's always the same play.
Went into Ukraine. That's a fairy tale. That's not what happened. And not beyond that, like you saw when he sat down with Tucker Carlson, he asked to join NATO himself. Why are we not having a productive relationship with Russia? I call that Cold War hangover. People that grew up under their desks, afraid of a nuclear bomb, can never see Russia outside of being villainous. And quite frankly, I think Zelensky He's suspended elections.
Yes,
he's locked down churches. He's locked up nuns. I'm a Christian. I don't like this guy at all.
That's Candace Owens being quite honest. I get that part. Let me transition to you.
Y'all always talking about dictators, that Trump is a dictator. No, Zelensky's the real dictator because he stopped the election so the people don't vote him out of office. The people don't like him there. They don't want him. They don't want that war and they want him to go. And if you speak to any people from over there, they all say how corrupt the government is. Over in America, you guys are fighting for something that the people don't even want. Like, you stupid. It's just crazy.
Specifically, to get to the real reason I wanted you on this podcast. First, before I even get into that, I want to ask you, I know your voice is very, very powerful. For those of you who don't know, top 10 on Spotify. I mean, you're one of the top podcasters in the nation, if not the world. I know everybody tries to listen to you, and they should, because you are not an idiot. You know what the hell you're talking about, and you can challenge anybody, and I give you credit for that. I gotta ask, however, though, leading up to the election, your voice was far more conspicuous in the past over the last several years than it was right before the election. Am I wrong in saying that? And if I'm right in saying that, why was that?
Yeah, so there were some life changes, obviously. I was pretty publicly fired. So there was a lot of things that I was just doing, trying to start my own business and to get back onto the airwaves. But going back to what I said earlier, I have had sort of a fatigue with politics. You know, I was quite bored.
She got fired. If you don't know, she got fired from the Daily Wire. Ben Shapiro, a Jewish guy, owns it. And she had said something. She had given her opinion about something and they said it was anti-Semitic. I don't know what she said. I forget, but you can Google it and see it. But she stood on it. And she went and apologized for it, and she stood her ground for it. And, you know, she got fired, and she didn't care, and she still sticking on it, and she started her own thing or whatever. So I commend her. You know, I admire anybody that's not a punk ass to stand in their convictions. I admired her for it.
Really with the same arguments. I need a little bit of a challenge. And I like people to argue things honestly. Whatever your opinion is, it's totally fine, but just let's argue honestly and not use all the same rhetoric. And so, yeah,
and it's like, if you don't agree with them, then they want to bully you into accepting their opinion. You got to apologize and grovel and say that they're right and all that. That's not fair. If somebody disagrees with you, they just disagree. Why you got to strong arm them and everything and accepting? It's like, you know, like reprogramming camp and shit. You know, they want to try to make you accept their way. You know what I'm saying? It's like slavery times when they used to beat you and accepting Christianity and stuff like that or whatever. You know, that's what it reminds me of, what they do. You know, you can have your opinion all you want to, you know, as long as you have it and it's respectful. I just thought she just said what she felt religiously, and that was it. You know, they can say what they feel is right religiously, but nobody else can have another opinion. I just think that sucks. I feel like everybody has a right to their opinion, and people shouldn't be so damn sensitive. One thing I look at is like, you can go on TV anywhere and see a slavery movie where everybody's saying the N-word, N-word, N-word. You can see rappers N-word, N-word, and nobody's up in arms. Nobody says a word. But then other groups, you can't even say boo without, you know what I'm saying, without being attacked and your whole career being over, and, you know, them, you know, dragging you till you have no skin left. You know, it's, you know, I just don't really think it's fair. And I feel like people be too much in their feelings today. And, you know, if you don't like somebody's opinion, don't accept it. That's it.
So to be this far into, this is like the third time Trump is running, and we're seeing the same thing. Oh, everyone who supports him is a racist, is a sexist. I'm just bored, you know? And I've always, by the way, been very passionate about culture, vaccines. I'm also a mom now. So in the beginning, I was married. I had no children. Now my interests have naturally shifted since becoming a parent. And so I think people are seeing more sides of me. And in many ways, I'm growing up publicly, and it's been refreshing, you know, refreshing kind of take people on the journey and to show people that I'm not just a Trump supporter, which the media did a very good job of painting that caricature of me.
You don't think that's an act? You don't think that's an? I don't want to call it a caricature, but you don't think that's an accurate description of you as being a Trump supporter?
No, I am a Trump supporter, but I'm not just a Trump supporter.
Understood.
And I think in the beginning, they kind of made it seem like I was always angry, always talking bad about Black people, which is like any person that listens to my podcast.
Listen, I'll be the first person to talk bad about Black people. You know why? I said, because we'll be the first people to blame the police and say that they're killing us, even though that does happen sometimes. But the reality is, you will be murdered by another Black person before anybody else. But we can't talk about that, though. Abortion is the #1 killer of Black people, okay? And they probably taking your Black baby and melanin harvesting it and making stem cells out of your baby. But we can't talk about that. You know what I'm saying? I always say we are our own worst enemy, period. We are so divided as a people over bullshit. You understand? And the real problems that face us, we don't even talk about it. And that's the position that she be taking. And she's right all the time. It's like how we got all behind Black Lives Matter and they turned out to be a scam. And she said it from the beginning that everybody attacked her and said she was, you know, a hater and white supremacist, a Black white supremacist and all that. And it turned out she was right. They were corrupt and they were stealing the money and all this and that, buying mansions and all. She has said it before anybody else found out. So, you know, I feel like we should never be divided over what these people are doing politically. We have to stand together as a community on the issues that matter to us. And I feel like we're not honest with ourselves about what is important.
White people get it 10 times worse, but the media will only pluck a clip when I'm speaking about a Black issue. And then it's, oh, there she is again saying stuff about Black people.
Yep.
They
don't ever give the full context of what she's saying. They'll just say that one thing. You know what I'm saying? And they do it all the time. They do it to keep us divided. They would never want the whole Black community to be on one accord and on one frequency together. You understand? But I feel like she's right in everything she says. You guys just don't like the messenger, but the truth is the truth, no matter who delivers it.
Very good job of conditioning, I would say, the public just via the mainstream media and flashy headlines to think that I had, like, they called me like a self-hating Black person. Right. It was completely wild. It was out of control.
Well, listen, this is the thing, and this is the thing that gets me in trouble, because obviously me being a Black man, me being a centrist, sort of center left as opposed to center right, I've been one that was inclined to vote Democratic, you know, at least.
Listen, he was very left. He was a hard left to me. Now he's a center left.
To the presidency for the vast majority of my life. If it was anybody other than Trump, I think I would have voted conservative this time around. I'm sort of becoming even more enlightened. I'm going to use that word because I was so disgusted with the left and what I saw. My patience is run thin at times. And then I've listened to you over the years. And one of the things that I didn't like is like what you just described, what people would say about you. And I'm saying, well, wait a minute.
And
is she wrong?
Black people did not like Candace, but had never even watched her or haven't even done no research and haven't watched her or anything, because she was a liberal at first. So I want to know what made you change your mind. You understand? You guys can't not listen. you're going to take advice from the mainstream media about who our enemies should be. I honestly agree with most of the Black conservatives about the things that we need to work on. But they try to tell you that because they're telling Black people they need to get their shit together, it's something bad about them. You understand what I'm saying? I just can't even, I don't even know. And then people get mad because they have white spouses, but Black people are so ignorant, they probably wouldn't even be with a conservative person. You understand? Especially years ago. Now it's different. You understand? Now it's different. Black people have woke up a lot as far as the Democratic Party and liberal policies and liberal ideologies compared to conservative, because I feel like I always say, Black people are conservative people by nature and historically, and we still are. We just are people of conservative values. We just are for the most part. And we voted that way this time.
What is she saying that you disagree?
Yeah.
How come you can't say you disagree with and make your points as to why, like she does, as opposed to just attacking her? Which brings me to my next question. What's it like being a Black conservative in America? Nobody better ask this question than you.
Honestly, it's a hell of a lot easier than it was when I first got into this back in 2015, because that was the first time they saw Trump, and people just could not see past how could this possibly happen. And I think the media.
Please, I used to see people at work say that person's a Trump supporter, don't hire them. And I'm sitting here thinking, damn, like these people are really bigots to people that are conservatives. You understand? A lot of liberal people hate Christians or hate any religious faith or whatever, because they have the gay agenda, and a lot of faiths don't believe in that, but they ain't thinking about your ass and shit. Nobody is stopping you from doing what you want to do. They just don't want to be a part of it, and they don't want to be forced to accept certain things. I feel like people could get along great if everybody would leave everybody the fuck alone. You do what you want to do, and we're over here minding our business. Why do you have to force your idea on me? I don't want it. You understand? And because I don't want it, now I'm homophobic or anti-Semite or whatever names they want to call you, a Black white supremacist, whatever the names they call you when you don't accept their agenda. But you want us to accept yours, but you won't accept ours. So the point is does everybody leave everybody alone? I don't understand why this has to be such a big deal. I feel like these things were never really a big deal, but I feel like Democrats and liberalism is making it a big deal. You understand? Nobody's stopping you from doing nothing. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. Where the problem is when you're trying to force that on other people, then it becomes a problem. Ain't nobody out there trying to force you to become a Christian or stop doing anything that you're doing in your life. You understand? That's false. That's an illusion. That's not happening.
Had a stronger hold on people's minds then than it does now. Now we've seen the explosion of independent media. People are able to get their voices out outside of the New York Times.
That's another thing that killed Democrats too, was that independent media, because they didn't realize that nobody's watching mainstream media, and that on independent media, there's thousands of people with conservative voices that have million followers and hundreds of thousands of people watching their posts and stuff like that. And they have receipts. And I'm telling you, they say Donald Trump's son was the one that told him to go on these independent podcasts and everything, and he did. And that's what got his message out quick. And the mainstream media still blocking, still lying, hate. And the whole time he was going to these independent medias that nobody gave no credit to, but they had huge followings. And that is really what put the nail in their coffin to me.
Times and CNN and Fox News, and that's helped tremendously to defeat all of these media caricatures that are being created. But I find it now, it's pioneering, to put it in a nice way, and I think it's the most rewarding thing ever when what I have found is that if you just stand for truth, even in the beginning when it's really hard and people say terrible things about you, and I've been called everything you could possibly imagine, then there's that moment, even if it takes years, where they do come back and they say you were right, particularly about BLM. I mean,
I know everybody be coming back and telling me I was right about them shots. Everybody keep coming back and telling me that. Everybody tells me, oh, wow, Shelly, you were right. I feel, I regret this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? So I feel vindicated in that way, but it's like a bittersweet vindication. I don't feel good really about it. because I feel bad that anybody had to be harmed or inconvenienced or anything like that. But it was what it was. I knew what I knew because I was listening to independent media, and independent media had these facts and receipts 4 damn years ago. You know what I mean? All of this stuff is just now coming out now, and Yale's doing studies, and this person want to do a study, and this nation want to sue, and this person, you know what I'm saying? Now Bill Gates, they want to make crimes against humanity on all these people and all this stuff. But they were saying that when it first was hit the market. So I just don't know why it took so long, and I hope America learns from these things and learn not to trust the mainstream media. But everybody fell for it again. They learned nothing from COVID, as far as I'm concerned.
Was hitting the drum about the finances so early, and I'm going, this, like, I'm not saying that you don't have feelings about this thing, but I am telling you something else is going on, and this is going to harm the Black community in the end. This money is just going to be zapped out of communities, and communities are going to be destroyed. And then when that was proven right, it was so refreshing to hear people say, yeah, we kind of hated her for a really long time. We're kind of saying this for a really long time. And then, the fraud of Patrisse Cullors and what they were doing with the money. And so my brain just works differently. I am different, and I'm happy being different. I don't want to be the same, but I also do respect. I think I've learned in the process as well, is to just respect where people are at. My sisters did not like where I was at when I started speaking in the way that I was speaking.
How many sisters do you have?
I have 2 sisters, and they're my best friends. So one is a year older, one's a year younger. So we're like a trio.
So they sandwich you. They sandwich you. They will get you. They sandwich you, huh?
Well, they just didn't really care.
Right.
To me, that's Candace. I've always been different,
Right.
and they didn't know what I was on or what I was thinking. And now this last election, they voted for Trump.
Now, see, I love about her sisters and I wish that everybody, Black, white, whatever the case may be, if you don't accept somebody's lifestyle and opinion, love them anyway. Okay? Because maybe one day you might change your mind, the other might change their mind, or nothing will ever change, but you love them anyway. Who cares what somebody thinks as long as they treat you with love and respect? That's what I don't understand. Because the friends that I lost for not getting the vaccine, I just couldn't even believe it. You understand? And I don't miss them one bit, really, but it's unfortunate that, they couldn't accept my decision and still, be my friend or whatever. But, life, that's how life is. And that's how ignorant, dumbass people, that's how they act.
Which is crazy. Like, that mean they were fully on the left, and they just sort of saw it. And so it's just been cool to see that. And they now like my podcast before they didn't even listen to it. But I
love her sisters because they didn't agree with her. So they didn't watch her show. They probably didn't have too many discussions with her about politics and how she thought. They already know what she thinks. You understand? And they still loved her anyway. She said they're her best friends anyway. You understand? I don't understand why everybody's so divided over all of these things. I just don't get it. You understand? I really don't understand. It's just so petty to me.
I grew up obviously not obviously, but my family has a great sense of humor. And that was one of the worst things I hated about BLM, is that I've always thought that Black people culturally, we're the funniest. We're the funniest. You always want to go listen to Chris Rock, Chris Tucker. And you saw that removal where everything was just taken so seriously. We're so easily offended.
Very much so.
And I hated that.
And you know what? Today, a comedian can't even make a joke where everybody getting attacked in their feelings. The people are so wimpy today, and everybody's in their feelings all the time. Unless they're talking about Black people, because you can get on and say an N-word, 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 and talk about Black people all day long, and nobody gives a damn. You understand? Black people don't argue and complain as much as some other people. It's like, who cares if people don't agree with you? If they don't want to be with you, they don't want to be with you. Like, you don't got to force yourself with them. I always felt like integration was the dumbest thing Black people ever did, because when they did that, they lost everything that they had for themselves in integrating. It's the truth. You understand? And it just destroyed us ever since. You understand? Maybe it's meant for you to just be with like-minded people. My mentors always tell me, you're looking for like-minded people. You understand? Why, if you're not like-minded, why are you trying to fit a square in a circle? It doesn't make any sense. Go be with the people that like that. You understand? Instead of arguing over women's sports, they need to make a division for, trans people or whatever. And the funny thing is that it's only the men transitioning to women that we have this issue, because you don't see the women really wanting to compete as men. The trans boys, you don't ever see them wanting to come compete as men because I think they already know they're at a disadvantage. You know, so I feel like they should make a category for that, but they don't want that. It's like they want to push in on the women, and I really don't think that that's right. You understand? Because some of these guys are twice the size of a woman, and you can't say that there's no advantage there. You understand? So that's a debate that's going to go on and on. You know what I mean? And I have a lot of trans friends, and no one really talks about that. You understand? I never really hear them have discussions on that. And like I said, this is, and like a lot of what my trans friends also say is that this is something new that young people are making a big deal of and getting, because most of the time they transition and they blending right in and everything is fine. You understand? It's the ones that just wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going to go in the women's bathroom with a full beard and my dick out. And that's the problem. It's those people. And they're always like, well, why are they grouping them with us? That's something else. You know what I'm saying? So, you have an athlete that is 200 on a list as a man, and then say, okay, well, I'm a girl now, I'm grew my hair out, and then I'm going to play with the girls. You know what I'm saying? Just shit like that. And I even know that trans and gay people also, they just say that that doesn't represent their group. You understand? So I just say that I don't know what the solutions to the problem is. I just wish everyone could get along. You understand? I have friends of all walks of life, and they accept my opinion because they love me. You understand? I accept them as they are because I love them too. You understand? But my opinion is my opinion. How I live my life is how I live my life. I don't understand why there's such this problem. And I feel like it's by design to keep everybody divided. If everybody would just think of themselves as human beings instead of all of these labels, because I'm a human being first. You understand? Then obviously I'm a woman and I'm brown. You understand what I'm saying? I feel like if we focus more on where we're the same, we would have less arguments and complaints, but we're always focusing on the differences, and that's what's causing the conflicts.
I thought the best parts of what the Black culture represented to me growing up was removed. And for me, my sisters, they never cared. Like, I'd be like, can you watch my cat? I have to go to a Trump thing. And my sister would be like, oh, are you going to another one of your Klansman rallies? Like, yeah, I'll watch your cat. It's always a joke.
Yeah. And I get it. And I guess for me, because I think about it, and I remember when you showed up, I believe it was in Paris, you were with Kanye West.
Killed me about all of these things, like how people's families discarded their loved ones because they didn't take the vaccine. They discarded their loved ones because they were conservatives and didn't want to vote for Democrats. That's crazy to me. I feel like she comes from a good family that they were able to still love and accept her, even though her opinions were different. And then eventually they saw on their own that the shit was a hot mess, Democrats, and they end up coming on her side. So, that's the one thing I saw out of this interview that really was the most profound to me, is that, she comes from a Black family and her family didn't accept her opinion, but they still loved her and they still, it was family. I don't see how you stop speaking to somebody in your family or somebody close to you because they have an opinion different than yours. That is just the craziest shit to me.
You were wearing the White Lives Matter shirt and what have you. And I said, damn. And I was upset. I was actually upset at you. And here's why, Candace, because I looked at it and I said, no, don't give the ammunition. Don't give the ammunition. You can sit up there and you can talk to folks about your views, what you know, and educate folks without them being closed-minded because they saw something and visualized something and automatically deemed that you were against us.
I think a statement like Black Lives Matter is just so stupid, because there's more people than just Black people in America. That's number one. And like I said earlier, you will be murdered by another Black person faster than anybody else on earth. That's just the reality of our situation in our community. And it's not just Black people. White people are murdered by other white people more than anybody else. You can watch Discovery ID for 24 hours and see white on white crime all day long for 24 freaking hours. So that is bullshit. We are not that different than anybody else. You understand? So, I just wish that everybody could just stop being so divided and stop falling for this okie doke shit.
People.
Right.
So, as you reflect on a moment like that and you talk about the Black community and politics, how do you feel? How do you gauge what's the right thing to do and what's not the right thing to do?
You know, for me, the discussion and polite discussion, it doesn't work. I have found that. You can go back and watch me on stage with T.I. and Killer Mike, and it doesn't work with the Black community. And I have a theory on this, and I think partially it's because we have this instance of father absence, but
now people will get mad for her saying that, but that is fact in our community. It's fact in our community as far as there's a lot of single mothers out there. Now, another statistic that they don't ever tell you is that Black men are more than any other race, more help in the home than any other race. You understand? They don't marry their kids' mothers and they don't live with them really like that for the most part, you know, but they're more hands-on with their kids. So, you know, it's just so much lies and deception just to try to keep us divided. But, you know, we do have a lot of things that we could work on as a community, but I just feel like if we stop letting outsiders divide us, that would be a great start.
There's a lot of attitudes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you try to come politely, you're just going to get disrespected. And so in terms of the White Lives Matter shirt, first off, Kanye, that's how he communicates. He communicates with art. That's like, this was Kanye's thing that I was stepping into, but I understood what he was saying there because he is someone that does not like, no one puts Kanye in the corner. No one tells Kanye what he has to be. And so when you start saying, oh, I'm going to superimpose you just being a Black victim onto someone like Kanye West, and, you know, he hated when white people would come up to him and say Black Lives Matter. So he's like, okay, you want to patronize me? Oh, let me patronize you. Your life matters too, right? Like, oh yeah, like white lives matter too. And I want you to know that white lives matter. Your life matters. He never liked that, the patronization of it. And so I felt the same way.
They do always try to make Black people seem like they're a victim. You know, you can't make it because it's some systematic thing against you, and you know, the white man all the time. And a lot of times it's just you are not doing the hard work that you need to do to get where you need to get. If our people could have Black Wall Street during Jim Crow time, when we had everything striked against us and people literally killing us, you know, as we're getting and living our best life and owning all kind of businesses all across America, what's wrong with your ass today? You have more opportunity than your ancestors had. So I don't want to hear that shit. That is bullshit. They always try to implant in your mind that you're less than and you can't make it without some Democrats or something like that, or some type of political policy to help you. That's bullshit. And we need to stop believing that. Nobody should think that way. You can become anything you want to become. If people could get in Harvard during Jim Crow time and during slavery time, they were the smartest people and they had to let them through. You don't need no DEI. Just don't be, you know, mediocre. Be the best and you'll get whatever you want in life. Be the best at what you do.
And we communicate differently. I usually am using more bombastic words, but that moment to me, especially as someone who grew up and really Kanye's music kind of gave me the courage to be myself, to not have to be an archetype of what a Black woman should be. It was a moment for me that I reflect on very fondly. And yeah, it broke the internet and it started a lot of conversations. But imagine if Black people were just like, yeah, every time
now you tell me, would you, in my opinion, I would pick her as president over Jasmine Crockett. I just feel like she handles herself much better. She seems like a leader. She looks like somebody that we would want to be. She's very smart. She articulates herself with some sense and all of those things. You understand? I don't see anybody in Democrat Congress or anybody that they put in front that I would say is a good representation of Black people throughout the world. I just feel like media always gonna pick the most sloppiest, most embarrassing people to exalt and then push out to the rest of the world to humiliate us. That's what I think. I mean, come on. Who's out there? Show me somebody, please.
Saw a white person.
Right.
I'm with you, but your white life matters. It's just, there's something about it I just don't like. It wasn't for me.
You brought up the use of bombastic words. You used that with George Floyd as well, who was murdered by a police officer in Minnesota. And obviously a lot of people in the Black community had a real problem with you as it pertained to that. That brings me to this question. When you take these positions, does it enter your mind? I don't want to use the word vitriol because I think that's a bit too strong and that's unfair to you and I don't want to do that. But when you consider the fact that so many people in the Black community have voted Democratic since the civil rights legislation in 1964.
That
We
did
remember when Lyndon B.
nothing.
Johnson said that, you pass
Did
this
absolutely
legislation and we'll
nothing.
have the Negroes vote for us for the next 200 years. Remember that statement? I
Right.
know, I remember that
He
statement.
sure did say
I'm
that.
wondering, because of your knowledge of politics, your obvious knowledge of the issues, when you speak on these things and you take positions about, you take such positions, particularly if it's antithetical or the antithesis of what the Black community will point to, do you think about it and do so on purpose because, dare I say, you're disgusted with us as a community for being hoodwinked by the Democratic Party in your eyes?
I know
Is
I
that
am,
possible?
damn it. I'm mad about it.
So that's a very good question. And disgusted would not be the right term for it. Frustrated, yes, and constantly trying to give people the facts so that they
Disgusted. All the words that you could think of. I want my people to wake up and stop it and be united. Come on. Neither one of these people are really thinking about us, really. It all boils down to which party can we get the most out of so that we can build our own community, build our own nation back up. Come on, man.
understand that Lyndon Baines Johnson was an avowed racist,
Yes, he
and
was.
he hated us, and yet we are doing everything that he wanted us to
Yes,
do.
we
We are
are.
reacting emotionally and not rationally. We seem to be a stereotype of irrationality, actually.
Mhm.
All we have to do is make them feel something and they won't react. And I want to be clear, it's not just Black Americans. The
Yep.
Me Too movement was another manifestation of that. Very, that's why I'm doing this Harvey Weinstein series. But what really does upset me about the Black community is that the manner in which we defend criminals, you will not find this in any other community. Okay, so white person gets shot, killed, unarmed. They're not coming out. White people are not coming out and burning down their own neighborhoods, right? They're going to be like, yeah.
Did you see the Black community attack me for going off about OJ being celebrated? Did you see that?
Yeah. Yeah, they've conditioned us to actually defend the worst in our communities. They just will let it go.
Thank you, Candace. This is what I always say. We like Meg Thee Stallion and all of these ghetto ass girls, and they're everywhere. They put them everywhere. They make them the biggest star, and they go all over and they humiliate us. That girl Sukiana went over to France and made a fool of herself. I mean, they picked the worst damn people. And why would you think politics wouldn't be any different? Why would you think anybody? Jasmine Crockett with her lace front wig and her eyelashes falling all off and her tongue hanging out, dancing, twerking. She thinks she's Meg Thee Stallion. I don't know what the hell, why you would want to support people like that. I'm serious. They always put the worst people to represent us every freaking time. She ain't lying. But they get mad at her for saying that, but it's the truth.
Think Chinese people are going to run outside if they're like, well, listen, this guy was high on fentanyl. He got into brush up with police officers and he died. Chinese people will be like, especially Asian moms are just dead serious. They'd be like, you idiot, good for you. So you're an embarrassment. Never come home. This is how Asian women are. They have a standard. You think Jewish people are coming outside and going to, rally around? No. They all know that they think of that as like a natural process. We don't want to associate with that. And we have the exact opposite mindset. And when I say the exact opposite, I mean...
Yes, we do. Because we support drug dealers. We, and get mad. Like if I say something bad about Jay-Z, y'all get mad. You understand? But his whole career, listen, we pick the worst people to represent us. I don't know. I never seen nothing like it. And she's so right. And I feel that way. And a lot of people feel that way. It's like, why would you want to have these people promoted to the young people and stuff? I mean, it's never ending, all this gangster shit and this whole stuff. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. It just seems like it gets more raunchy and more worse than ever. I mean, and I feel like she be pointing out the real issues, but Black people get mad, but it's the truth. Everything she said is the truth.
Also, the reverse of that being that the most educated and the most accomplished people in our community, in terms of their intellect, we reject. How can we ever get ahead, right?
Yep.
Oh, Condoleezza Rice. No, she's a traitor. She's Uncle Tom. Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice. He's a traitor. He's an Uncle Tom. But Dr. Ben Carson, a literal brain surgeon. Black people will call him stupid. It's crazy. So there's no way Black America can get ahead with that backwards mindset. Where you put George Floyd on a t-shirt and you denigrate and disrespect someone like Clarence Thomas. I'm just not with it, you know.
You got a new.
Well, Chris Creek, one thing I could say about Stephen Smith is that he admit that he was wrong on some things, and he is giving her a chance to, you know, speak her mind. I feel like he's changing. You know what I mean? And they say changed behavior is the best form of apology. Somebody can say they're sorry all day long, but they, you know, you got to give them an opportunity to change. That's the thing. You know, is he a horrible person? I don't really know. Does his opinion differ from mine sometimes? Yes, it does. You know, I know he's a father and different things, and I'm sure his family must love him. He can't be a horrible person all the time. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't think he's retarded. I think he's a smart man. I don't think he's a demon. I just feel like some people just get hoodwinked, like she said. And she said she gets tired of Black people being hoodwinked by the Democratic Party and, you know, hoodwinked about, you know, and we always pick the worst people to represent us and stuff like that. And I don't think he's a bad person to really represent us, but especially now that he's coming so far from the left and he's starting to wake up and realize what's going on, and he's saying it. So I commend him for that. I mean, people can change their mind, you know, and you can't like throw a person away when they change their mind. I mean, again, he's one of us. We need to, support our community. It's like we're always so divided. If the man said he is sorry, you know, he apologized to Kyrie Irving accepted his apology, then we need to move on too. Because if Kyrie can move on, we all need to too, you know, so.
Platform called Club Candace. And I'm wondering, how important is I know you're going to speak your truth. You have proven that time and time and time again, okay?
Yes.
But in the process of doing so, as you have this new platform, how important is it for you, if at all, to reach and resonate with the Black community, or to really...
Chris Creek says he goes after Black people all the time, not at all with the white people. I think he does, you know, attack the white ones too. I can't really make an opinion about him because I don't watch sports and stuff like that, but I just feel he's just a personality that's loud, and he's just, you know, he criticizes everybody. You know what I mean? Like I said, if you Google Stephen A. Smith apologizes to, you're going to see a long list of different people that he made apologies to. So I commend him in that regard, is that, you know, if he says something and he can be man enough to give the apology, you understand, a lot, because apparently he says a lot of things, you know what I mean? So it is what it is. But again, like I said, change behavior is the best form of an apology. And I've never watched Stephen Smith really until now, when he started getting on the Democratic Party for how messed up they were, you understand? And that made me want to look at him a little bit more, because now he's seeming a little bit more like-minded. But even when he wasn't more like-minded, I still felt like, you know, he have his place. He got there. It's not easy to get in that position that he have. And he, you know, I don't know, you know, but like I said, I wish that we wouldn't be divided over opinions. You understand what I'm saying? I wish we could learn to be more mature about it and be able to have the discussion. That's what I like about Candace, that she's a debater. She have a discussion with anybody. She have her receipts and facts and have the discussion. And I feel like, why can't we just have these discussions with everybody, without everybody getting in their feelings, getting mad, ready, fist fighting, all this shit, get mad, yelling, howling over each other. It's just, it doesn't solve anything.
Really provoke change all across the board, particularly in the United States of America. Where do you lie with that?
Yeah. The number one thing is for me to reach people who want to hear the truth. And so that comes in all different shapes and sizes and colors. And our demographics have really changed. It's very mixed. People all around the world.
I feel the same way. And I don't even have nowhere of a following like that yet. But the only reason why I do these videos is because I just want to elevate the frequency of my people. I love everybody to watch this, and I put information that's useful for everybody. But I really would love my people to get united and wake up and elevate their frequency, because the reason why we suffer so much is because we are vibrating on a low frequency. We have to learn how to up, to elevate our frequency as a group. And then we could rise above all these problems and all this wickedness that's surrounding us. But as long as we're divided, and this goes for all of humanity, because if humanity could really get on one frequency, we would obliterate the devil and all his minions, but they know this. And this is the reason why they're going to keep everybody divided. It's exhausting.
Like, I have, shockingly, I would say in Africa, they absolutely love me. I mean, like, the amount of Nigerians who listen to my podcast daily.
You know why they like her in Africa? Because they have conservative values. They just do. And there's people that might be very liberal over there too. You understand? I just wish that people would just accept each other for what they believe and just leave them alone. Just leave them alone. If you don't like what they think, love them and leave them alone. That's it. As human beings,
Uganda. So it's not a color thing. It's important for me to get information out that I don't think would otherwise be available. So with Club Candace,
exactly, that's the same way I feel, because I feel like I get information and I'm always shocked that people don't know certain things or didn't hear about certain things. And it's very shocking, especially over COVID. I learned that the mainstream media lies so much, and people, they keep you in a constant state of fear, and that, causes damn mental illness damn near, and I feel like a lot of people don't know the truth of what's going on, and I feel like if one person wake up from something I said, I feel that I completed the mission that God has put me on. I do feel like more and more people are starting to watch it, but I just want to see everybody elevate their frequency. That's all I can say. And just stop being so divided as a people, not just Black people, but as all the nations. It's just crazy. It's like we're just conditioned to hate each other, and everybody's in these little fractions of groups all over the place. And that's how you're at your weakest. It's just stupid, and people can't see it. I don't know why.
I have my vaccine series. I am, quote unquote, anti-vax. Don't vaccinate my children. And I want people to know why. I want people, especially if you want to talk about something Black Americans should learn about, it's the vaccine industry. We were targeted, what was sent over to Africa to experiment and make people infertile. It was Hispanic women, Native Americans, and Black Americans were experimented on. And this is the stuff that matters. And
that's
so
why I say you guys need to listen to some of her journalism and some of her exposés and some of her documentaries or whatever, because they really are geared to things to help Black folks. You know what I'm saying? And exposing things that maybe that we don't know, that we need to know, so we can elevate our frequency and not align with certain kinds of people.
Also, obviously, the book club, to introduce them to the books that I read outside of the school system that kind of helped forge a lot of my opinions, a lot of my political opinions. And so that's really fun that we meet every 2 weeks. And so you're just getting kind of whatever goes on in this headquarters of crazy. It's all happening at Club Candace.
Make them a sandwich. Why real women don't need fake feminism. Explain that title, please.
We just need to destroy the feminist movement. It's just so toxic. And I think that on the heels of Kamala's loss and, women are unhappy because they're being told to compete with men. We are not like men. We are not built like men biologically, mentally, physically.
I say all the time, I do not want to be a man. I don't want to do man shit. And I want to be a woman in my feminine energy, in my place as a woman. I don't want to be a man, period. And if you want to be a man, good for you. But can we stop it? I mean, it's just getting ridiculous at this point. And a lot of women don't like it. They're in a position now where, they wish they had a man. They wish they had family once they get older. You know what I mean? I have a video about that, and it's really eye-opening about how much of a scam the feminism movement has been. It's just a destroyer and another divider that they put between us.
Physically, we are just not men. And the idea that to be equal in society, I have to have the same aspirations as a man is going to be something that makes women chronically unhappy, which is what we're dealing with today. And learning the real history of feminism. And I'm mimicking Gloria Steinem, a famed photo of her, who was actually a CIA operative, will wake people up to the fact that these decisions that are being told to you of like, yes, the feminist movement was amazing, was the CIA looking for a way to tax households two ways. And it has not led to the enriching of the household. It has not led to the enriching of our life experiences. And the biggest joys in my life are being able to be at home with my children and my husband. And I'm just tired of being told that.
Let me tell you something. I would have loved to be home with my child. I don't see why women thought that was such a bad thing to be home and take care of your kids.
Makes me somehow backwards. We got to defend men.
Yeah, right there you go. Hey, listen, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining about that. Not even a little bit, all right? You recently interviewed former Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein from prison. Why did you want to talk to him, and what was the most surprising thing you got from it?
I have been a hater of the Me Too movement since day one. Even before I had sons, and now I have 3, I knew that we need due process, and watching men lose their entire lives on the basis of an allegation. I mean, I could have literally ruined your life, Stephen. I could have been like, he touched my hand at that Knicks game, and I remember this, and cry. You've been done, canceled, over, forever. And that's wrong. True. Okay.
And what about that girl that said that football player in college raped her or whatever and destroyed his life, and then came back decades later or whatever and said that she had lied? So yeah, I have a son too, so I understand. I know exactly where Candace is coming from with this.
Women lie, men lie, women lie, facts don't lie, and we need due process. And so the Harvey Weinstein case, someone brought it to me and said, take a look at it. And I actually thought he was guilty when I first got on the phone with him in prison. And we're totally on different sides of the political spectrum. But a friend had reached out and said, I think you'll be the only person that will actually take a look at this and tell the truth. And I've just always been committed to telling the truth. And it is my belief, and I think that once I show the public the facts of this case, that Harvey Weinstein was wrongfully convicted, and his case just got overturned in New York, as it should have, and now it's being sent back down in the appellate courts. So it's got to be retried. And I
didn't hear that. I haven't heard anything about this. That's very interesting. But I'm really compelled to see what she found, because her investigations, and she be on point with her receipts. And if she's saying that, she wouldn't give a damn about saying that he was guilty if he was. You know what I mean? She'd be the one to drag him. So I don't know. I can't wait to see this investigative series. It's out now, so I'm gonna go watch it and see what she found.
We got to go back to the beginning. We got to put this genie back into the bottle and back into the Me Too bottle. And it all begins with Harvey Weinstein. And so I'm really excited about bringing that series forward.
Got you. Before I let you get on out of here, my producers in my ear, she mispronounced Kamala Harris's name twice. I want to make sure you didn't do that on purpose. You didn't do that on purpose.
No, I just don't know how. What is it? Is it Kamala or Kamala?
Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris.
That's what I said. I said Kamala.
That's right. Well, don't worry about it. It's okay. It's all right. You said Kamala.
Are you kidding me? Really? Give me a break. Look at Candace's face. That is just ridiculous. You see how leftist that network is? They're going to tell him that she said the name wrong and to correct her on the name. Now that's ridiculous.
But don't even worry about it.
Send her to me if she's got an issue.
I got you. Listen, I know you got to go. Thank you for your time. I just want to say one thing to you. I've interviewed a lot of liberals on this show. I'm telling the conservatives they're welcome on the show too. If I'm wrong, correct me. If I'm right, agree with me. I'm not in this game, contrary to what they've been writing about it. I like being fair-minded and giving everybody an equal platform to express themselves. And I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. I really thank you for it. And you're welcome back on the show anytime. Thank you so much.
I would love to come back. Like I said, this feels so full circle to me, from the high five to this. So thank you so much.
Works for me. You take care of yourself. All the best.
So there you have it, folks. Stephen A. Smith and Candace Owens. I made y'all watch that whole video. One, because after I make these lives, I make them into shorter reels. So, I know people are not going to sit through this whole video, and I try to take out the things that are the most important. But what do you guys think of Candace? I just wanted to, have some videos to show people, other conservative voices that are Black like them. People so quick to say, oh, all Republicans are racist and they're all Black, white supremacists and all that. But the ignorant part of it is that, and when I say this, people are always like, oh, well, that was a long time ago. No, The Republican Party was created to abolish slavery. And I don't give a shit what y'all tell me. I don't see how you forgave them for Jim Crow, Black codes, the Ku Klux Klan, the Civil War. I mean, like, how do you forgive them for this? I mean, I don't get it. I don't see. And then, like, they're telling you about the 1964 Civil Rights Act. They gave that because they wanted to enslave you, because they figure, oh, we'll throw them this bone and they'll vote for us forever, because they're thinking they're getting something, but they ain't getting shit. You understand? And it destroyed the Black community completely. Destroyed. And if you go watch somebody like Dr. Claude Anderson, he gonna break that shit down for you about how integration destroyed the community and why, you know, Black people should have stayed on their own and not merge into the dominant society and all this and that, because he's right. You understand? And what they just, Stephen A. Smith and Candace Owens together both told you that, you know, Lyndon B. Johnson was a big racist, and the only reason why he gave us that was to keep us voting for them for 200 years. So, you know, we have to know the history, and you can't be blind faith followers of anything. And the last thing I'm going to tell you guys, I'm telling you, I can't say this enough time. If the mainstream media tells you someone is your enemy, they probably are the hero of the story. Just always remember that. And go out of your way to watch independent media. I'm just telling you, because otherwise you're getting lied to, propagandized, and gaslit. Okay, I was on here for a very, very long time. And if anybody sat through this, God bless you. I appreciate you. I am Shelly B. I'm going to get up out of here now and go eat me something and go to bed, because I have to be on set at 6:42 in the morning. So you guys have a great evening and enjoy your life, and just listen. I say this every time. Go down the rabbit holes, get off mainstream media, don't watch it no more, and just look at these independent journalists. Even if they're on the left, you know, just go look at the independent route, because once you go on an independent route, you really don't see too many leftist journalists like that if they're reporting the truth. You understand what I'm saying? Because they are very corrupt. All right, you guys, I'm going to go now. I love you. Thanks for watching. I'm Shelly B. I love you, and have a